Hi everyone, myself Naveen Kumar, lecturer, Department of Chemistry. In this video, we'll discuss with the unit solutions from second PUC syllabus. To begin with, we'll see the introduction of the unit. To understand what is a solution, we'll recall with the concept, a fundamental concept, matter. How we can define a matter? We know anything that has mass and occupies space is regarded as matter. Anything that has mass and occupies space is regarded as matter. Such a matter chemically classified into mixtures and pure substances. Mixtures are further divided into homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Pure substances contains elements and compounds. Now we'll understand what is a homogeneous mixture and we'll relate that to the definition of a solution. In a homogeneous mixture, whatever the components present in it, they will all form always a uniform mixture, or they uniformly mix with each other. Such a mixture is referred to as a homogeneous mixture. A homogeneous mixture contains all the components which are uniformly mixed with each other. So by knowing what is a homogeneous mixture, we'll define what is a solution is. A solution is a homogeneous mixture of two or more components. Whatever the number of components present in a given solution, if it is in the form of homogeneous mixture, then the resultant we can call it as a solution. What are those components and how we can learn to relate a solution? All the components present in the solution, they are broadly divided into two main types, that is solute and the solvent. Now we'll understand what is a solute and what is a solvent. Solvent is that component of a solution which is generally present to a larger extent. Whatever the component generally present to a larger extent may regarded as a solvent, but there are some conditions to consider this. To consider that major component as a solvent, it should retain its physical state, both in its pure form as well as in the solution form. That means solvent determines the physical state of the solution. For example, if I take a glucose solution in water, the solution will look like water. As water here acts as a solvent, it retains its identity in the solution, as the resultant solution is a liquid solution. So hence solvent is the determining component of a solution for its physical state. Now we'll understand what is a solute. Solute generally present to a lesser extent in the solution, and it may retain or may not retain its identity in the solution. So by knowing these fundamental definition regarding the components of a solution, we'll try to learn the types of solution. There are various classification to understand the types of solution. Based on the number of components present in them, they are classified as binary solutions, ternary solutions, etc. With respect to our syllabus, we'll focus on the binary solution. As the name signifies, binary refers to two. If a solution contains only two types of components, that is one solute component, one solvent component, then we can call such solutions as binary solutions. Such binary solutions are broadly classified into three main types. They are solid solutions, liquid solutions, and gas solutions. In each main type, we can see the three divisions or three types in it. Hence, 3 into 3, totally 9 different types of binary solutions we can see based on the physical state of solute and the physical state of the solvent. With the simple examples, we'll understand all the 9 different types of binary solution. To begin with, solid solutions are those in which the solvent present will be solid, but solute may be solid, liquid, or gas. The first type in it of a solid solution where the solute is solid, the examples will be alloys. These are the best examples to understand this type. Alloys are homogeneous mixtures of two or more metals. We'll consider any two metal containing alloys. The best known and important types, bronze and brass, which are the alloys of copper. Bronze is the copper alloy with tin, and brass is again the copper alloy with zinc. So both in bronze and brass, the copper form a homogeneous mixture with the other metal, whether it may be tin or it may be zinc. Such alloys are the best examples of solid solution where solute is solid. If we observe the second type of solid solution where solute is liquid, we can consider amalgam, that is liquid mercury with any solid metal. So we can consider as the best examples of this type. Here I have mentioned amalgam of mercury with sodium in a homogeneous solution can be taken as the example for the type. The third type of solid solution where solute is gas. We'll take an interesting example here. If we allow hydrogen gas to pass on to the palladium, first the gas adsorbs on the surface of the palladium, then the gas enters into the bulk of the palladium and will form a homogeneous mixture with it. Such absorbed hydrogen gas in palladium can be taken as an example. That is solution of hydrogen gas in palladium where hydrogen as a gas solute present in the palladium, which is a solid solvent. The second main type, liquid solution, where the solvent will be liquid. We'll consider the first type in it, where solute is solid. Any polar solids in polar solvents can be taken as an example. For example, glucose dissolved in water, sucrose dissolved in water, any sugar dissolved in water, salt dissolved in water, etc. The second type of the liquid solution where solute is also liquid. Again, miscible liquids, we can take it as example here. Ethanol in any proportion will easily dissolve in water because both are polar in its nature. Hence, ethanol solution in water or ethanol dissolved in water can be taken as a best example for the type. Then the third type of liquid solution where solute is gas. As we know, the aquatic life sustains because of the dissolved oxygen present in the water. We'll take the same example. Oxygen dissolved in water can be the example of liquid solution where solute is gas. Then the third main type, gas solutions, where the solvent will be gas, whereas the solute may be solid, liquid, or gas. The first type in it, where the solute is solid. Camphor as a solid will form a homogeneous mixture in a nitrogen gas. Camphor in nitrogen gas will be the example for the type. The second one, where liquid is a solute in the gas solution. As a liquid, the chloroform, if it is mixed with nitrogen gas, will form the example. The third one, where gas is the solute. As we know, gases are the most confusing state of the matter as well as the most easiest state of the matter to learn. Without any help of the external agency or external aid, they form a homogeneous mixture. Hence, they exhibit a remarkable property of diffusion. Such mixture of any two gases can be taken. So we'll consider the simple example here. Oxygen and nitrogen mixture can be taken as example of gas solution where both solute and solvent is gas. So this is the simple classification regarding the binary solution. Major determining factor for the physical state of the solution as a solvent, this classification can be remembered. Next, we'll try to move on with the topic expressing the concentration of solution. After knowing what is a solution, what are the components present in it, and how binary solutions are classified, now we'll try to learn how we can express the concentration of any given solution. There are various measurements regarding this expression terms. Few important as specified from the syllabus will concentrate. The first one is percentage composition, second one parts per million, third one mole fraction, fourth one molarity, fifth one molality. Percentage composition can be considered in three different ways: mass to mass percentage, volume to volume percentage, or mass to volume percentage. We'll observe all in detail now. Overall view of these expression concentration terms, if we consider, will relate what is the dependency on temperature during the measurement of these concentration terms. You can remember a simple concept. If in the measurement or in the expression, if there is a volume term present, then such a concentration expression depends on the temperature. If there is no volume in its expression or calculations, it will be independent of temperature. If we observe in the percentage composition, volume percentage or mass to volume percentage, these two are volume dependent, hence so they depend on temperature. Mole fraction, parts per million, then molality, they do not contain any volume terms, hence they are not dependent on temperature or they are independent on temperature. Whereas molarity, where there is volume term in its calculation, hence measurement of molarity will vary based on the temperature conditions. Hence it is a temperature dependent concentration term. We'll understand it with the simple equations to calculate or to express the concentration. We'll consider the first one, the percentage composition. It can be expressed in three different ways. If the component's mass is taken in the given solution, we can express the mass percentage for solute in the solution or the solvent in the solution. In general, the formula used to calculate is mass percentage of a component, it may be solute or solvent, will be equal to mass of the component in the solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. If we consider for solute, then mass of the solute in the solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. If it is to require to calculate for the solvent, mass of the component will take it as solvent, mass of the solvent in the solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. The second one, volume percentage, where volumes of the components present in the solution is used to express its percentage composition. Volume of the component divided by total volume of the solution into 100 will make the expression as volume percentage. Again, we can calculate for solute as well as for solvent in the solution. For example, here 35% of ethanol in water, if it is volume by volume, signifies 35 ml of ethanol in 65 ml of water. Together, total volume of the solution to relate it as 35 plus 65, 100. Volume of the solute, will take it as ethanol 35 ml. Total volume of the solution, it is 35 ml of ethanol, 65 ml of water. Together it is 100 ml into 100 will be 35%, as it is expressed V by V signifies volume by volume. So 35 ml of ethanol in 100 ml of solution will be its volume percentage. The third one, mass by volume percentage. Here, the component which is expressed is taken or is measured in terms of its mass and is related to the total volume of the solution present as a liquid solution into 100. That will be mass of the component in the solution divided by total volume of the solution into 100. This expression term of percentage composition is the most useful to prepare the medicinal syrups. So with this, we'll go for the second expression concentration term. It is parts per million. To express a very small concentration of solute present in the solution, a very minute concentration of solute, a general concentration terms may not be so useful. A more useful expression term for that will be parts per million. It's used to express a very less quantity of solute present in the solution. For example, the particulate matter in the air, or the pollutants present in the air, or the pollutants present in water. Such trace quantities of solute present in the solution can be expressed by using parts per million. Such calculation can be considered as, if we know what is the number of parts of the component, and if we relate to the total number of parts of all the components present in the solution, if it is multiplied by a million, 10 to the power of 6, then the number of components are expressed per million as parts per million. It is number of parts of that component to the total number of parts of all the components in the solution into million, that is 10 to the power of 6. The unit is ppm. And if we observe the next one, it's the mole fraction, a very useful quantity to express the concentration terms. To understand mole fraction, we need to recall what are number of moles and how to calculate the number of moles. As we know, mole is one of the fundamental quantity of SI units, which contains Avogadro number of particles, that is 6.022 into 10 to the power of 23 per mole. If we know a mass of the given substance and what is its molar mass, then it is possible to calculate number of moles. That is, number of moles is mathematically calculated as mass divided by molar mass. Now, in a simple binary solution, we'll be having two components, one solute and one solvent. If we know what is the mass of solute in the solution, what is the mass of solvent in the solution, and by knowing their molar masses, it is possible to calculate their number of moles. Generally, A will be used to designate the major component solvent, and B will be used to consider the solute. So here Na stands for number of moles of solvent, Nb stands for number of moles of solute. This Xa, X is a symbol of mole fraction. Xa stands for mole fraction of solvent. If it is Xb, mole fraction of solute. Now, mole fraction can be defined as, for any component, number of moles of that component to the total number of moles of all the components. If it is mole fraction of a solvent is taken, number of moles of solvent divided by number of moles of solute and solvent. n number of solutes if it is present in the solution, or more than one type of solvent is present in the solution, then we can relate the mole fraction of any ith component present in the solution as number of moles of that I component to the total number of moles of all the components present in the solution. It's a simple equation to calculate by expanding the number of moles definition as W by M, where W stands for mass, M stands for molar mass. So we can rearrange the equation for the required calculation. And it is interesting to observe that if we take the sum of mole fraction of all the components present in the given solution will be always equal to unity. It will be always equal to 1. So hence this finds significance in the calculation. We'll try to see in the Raoult's law what is the significance of that in relating its mathematical form. If we observe, mole fraction is a unitless quantity because both in the numerator and denominator we are having the same term. It is a moles. Moles cancel with each other, hence it is a unitless quantity, as it is not contain any volume terms in the calculation. It is independent on temperature. The next one, molarity. Again, the most useful concentration term in the solutions, or in generally the liquid solutions. Such molarity is defined as number of moles of solute present in the given volume of the solution in liters, or number of moles per liter of the solution is related as molarity. You can observe the simple mathematical form, so which will be useful to calculate the molar mass or to find the molarity. Molarity is equal to N2 stands for number of moles of solute divided by V by 1000, that is volume of the solution expressed in liters. To make ml or cm cube to express in liters, it is divided by 1000. If the volume is given directly in liters, there is no requirement of dividing by 1000. If it is given in ml or in cm cube, then to make the volume to express in liters, it is divided by 1000. If we expand the equation, N2 definition, number of moles of solute will be equal to mass of solute divided by molar mass of solute. Hence molarity is equal to 1000 into mass of solute whole divided by molar mass of the solute into volume of solution. The unit, if we observe, number of moles expressed in mole, volume expressed in liter, mole per liter is the unit of molarity, which is called as molar or represented by capital letter M. The dependency on temperature, if we observe, as it is a volume dependent term, volume varies directly with the temperature. Hence, with increase in temperature, volume increases, but molarity is inversely related with it. Hence, it varies inversely with temperature. That means if temperature increases, molarity decreases. The last expression of concentration term, molality. Molality is defined as number of moles of solute present per kg of the solvent. If we observe its mathematical form, number of moles of solute given as N2 whole divided by mass of solvent, that is W1 by 1000. Again 1000 here, it is to convert the mass if it is in grams to express in kg. To make the mass expression in kg, so mass of the solvent is divided by 1000. If we rearrange the equation, 1000 into W2, that is mass of solute whole divided by M2, that is molar mass of solute, into W1, that is mass of solvent. If we observe the unit of molality, number of moles, it is mole, and the mass in kg, hence it is per kg. Mole per kg or mole kg inverse is the unit of molality, which is also called as molal or represented by a small letter m. This concentration term is independent on temperature, as the expression term contain only mass calculations, doesn't contain any volume term in it, hence it is independent on temperature. So with this, we'll try to stop for this particular presentation. In our next presentation, we'll try to discuss with the next concept of the unit. So it is the concept of solubility, factors affecting the solubility for solids in liquids and gas in liquids. Thank you.